Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Beginner Python. In the first 5 sessions, we already covered quite a lot of topics. And today in session 6, you are going to learn about the for loop. And back in university, my professor always said the best programmers are the lazy programmers. And what he meant with that was that you do not need to create a big amount of code or a large quantity of code, but that your code is effective and efficient. So you should always think deeply before you start programming and make the best use of the programming language available. So if you see yourself with the problem of repeating tasks manually, which is slow and boring, typically programmers will tend to automate repetition and in using loops. So you will have less typing and more results. So what is a for loop actually? A for loop is a control structure that allows you to repeat a block of code for each item in a sequence. So you could have a list, a string, or a range. And this loop can help you to automate the repetition of tasks by iterating over every element without rewriting the code multiple times. So I'm going to show you the basic syntax. You will see here in the gray box the keyword for, and then a variable, then the next keyword in, and then the sequence that you can iterate through. And below that, you will have a code block to execute for each of the items. So in the variable, you temporarily hold each element of the sequence, and the sequence itself is any data structure that you can iterate through. For example, a list, a string, a range. And then below this, you have the intended code block that runs over each element. From here, let's go into live coding, where you can try and experiment with that new structure. So the objective here is, let's think about your next birthday that's coming up and you like to eat a lot of cake. So you would write a Python program that prints a personalized birthday message or a reminder to a list of your friends to bring you a cake for your birthday. And of course, you will be using a for loop. I'm helping you with the possible approach. So you will have a structure already that you can use for your program. So I'm suggesting that you create a list with at least, let's say, 10 names of your friends. Then you use a for loop to go through each name, and you print a personalized message like this example here below, where the name is replaced by your friend's name, and that you remind them to bring a cake for your birthday. All right, so I'll give you about 10 minutes time. You can start writing your own code. Please submit it afterwards so I can review it later and give you feedback. Okay, I see everybody has finished with their submission of the code. So I'm switching over to my screen. I will show you now in the live session one example how you could implement that. So let's start. It's a very short program from here. At first, you would create a list of friends for your upcoming birthday. Let's say friends, and then you have a list simply created here. And you can use that list in the for loop. Again, the keyword from the programming language for. Then you define your variable directly here in, and then you use the friends list that you created up here. And you have your print message that you format nicely, and you say, hey, you're going to use the variable name that you defined here in the for loop. Don't forget to bring cake for my birthday. And when you run the whole thing, you will see it goes through your list of names, Alice, Bob, Charlie, and so on. And they will all be reminded to bring a cake for your birthday. All right, so a few modifications, or let's think about one thing. You have now a list of 10 friends here, and it would be an easy job to add a new friend. Let's say you met somebody new. You're going to insert a new name here. For example, Alona has entered your friends of circles, and you want also her to be included in the messages. You run it again, and you will see at the end of the list, hey, Alona, don't forget to bring cake for my birthday. And that's basically already the function of the for loop. Okay, I see we have a question from the chat box. I'll repeat it for the whole class. So the question is, would it be possible to modify the for loop so that the last 3 friends are not shown? And yes, of course, that's possible and quite easy. So you can modify either the list, but you want to have it maybe for a different purpose. So you will not delete the names from here, but you can shorten the range for the for loop where it goes through. For example, by using this method, you're going to say this is -3, and your friends list will be shortened by 3. So you will say it stops after Hannah, and Ivy, Jack, and Alona will not be shown anymore. All right, good. So that is a very basic and simple usage of the for loop. I'm going back to the session material with one more coding example. This time I just give you a scenario. So let's say a little bit more economically real-world oriented. You're building a basic checkout system, and you have a list of item prices in a shopping cart. And from this, you want to print the price of each item, and you want to calculate the total cost at the end. So this time I don't give you a complete approach, just this scenario. I'd say 15 minutes time. Please start working on your code and then submit it again. Okay, I can see everybody has finished their code submission. Let's switch over to my code example and see what we can learn from here. So once again, I have created a list, and this time I named it cart, and I have the item prices separated by commas in that list. I created and initialized the value, a variable total with 0. And from there, I created the for loop where the price variable has been defined and it goes through the cart. So the for loop will iterate through the cart list itself. And for each price that was part of the scenario, you will print the item price. And I suggest here for correct formatting of floating points, we limit it to 2 digits. You have learned that in previous classes. And we calculate the total by adding the prices with the plus equal operator in each iteration of the for loop. Once the for loop has finished, you will have the total price in your variable total, and you print that also once more, so that we should see this fine result here, item prices for each item and the total amount. And that's basically another example implementation of the for loop. Once again, I will look at your code implementations later and give you some feedback on it. This here is one example that you can also use for your learning. Okay, so in summary for the short session today, why are we using for loops? It's to avoid duplication of code, so you can write it once and run it many times. You process data collections efficiently, and of course it helps you also to improve readability and maintainability of your code. Then continuing from here next week, what's coming up? We are going to look at conditional logic, if else or filtering inside loops. And if you have no more questions for today, let's finish the session. Thank you.